Hey everyone. I'm just now leaving my mom's, and I was like, I really feel like I want to go live and talk about just being with my mom lately. The last year has been probably the hardest year of caregiving thus far. And probably, like, in some ways from now on, like, it's not, logistics wise, it's probably going to get, and like heart wise, it's probably going to get harder because just, things are going to continue to decline for her in some ways. But, for the most part, there is no, nobody knows when the end is happening. But like, this phase, we don't know how long it's going to last, right? And so a few weeks ago, I talked to her about, like, there's so much we can't control, so much. And while we can keep dreaming about the things that we want to do when and if you get more mobile, we really, really have to start living in the moment, in today. Like, what can we do right now while you are still mostly bedridden, while it's, hard for you to move? What can we do right now? And I think those are hard conversations to have, because on the one hand, you want that hope to keep happening, when I can do that, when I can move more, we can go do this or we can do that. But also we have to be realistic and also experience the moments that we're in and try to make them as good as possible. So that's what we've been working on together over the last few weeks, is what does it look like to experience joy in this moment? What is it like to foster our relationship in this moment? And so one of the things that we do now is on Saturdays, which is my day where I just come and like hang out. There's no like, here's the laundry or talking to doctors and nurses necessarily, but just, just hanging out. And we do paint her nails. And then while I'm doing that, she tells me stories. So my mom's always been a good storyteller, and we've always talked about recording stories. But the more I meet more caregivers and caregivers who their caregiving season has ended, they say, man, I wish I had recorded my loved one's voice. I wish I had, learned more about them or our family. And so I know that my mom is the keeper of the stories of our family. She is the one that remembers the most. She's the one that, remembers every story that family members told her. And so one of the things that we do is on Saturdays, while I paint her nails, she tells me stories of our family. And I try to like ask a question to get her, because, she's like, I know all the stories, I don't know which one to tell, and so I usually prompt her in some way. And if you're like, oh, that's such a great idea, and you're wondering, like, how do you go about, there's actually, like, if you Google, like, family storytelling or something, like, you'll probably find there are some prompts out there. And then, of course, there's Storyworth, which is where, like, they will send you an email that asks the loved one a question, that kind of thing. So you can do something as simple as that. But like, I know the stories that I want my mom to tell first. And then of course, those lead to stories that I haven't heard yet. And just watching her tell the stories has been so life-giving to me, but also I think life-giving to her. But it's really been a different experience. If you're a caregiver and you have a loved one that you go see regularly, whether they're at their own home or a facility or whatever, and a lot of times it just feels like, it's overwhelming. It's sad. It's hard. And it's, hard to think about even being there, or like, what are you supposed to do when you're there? Like, it's okay to like, I strongly urge you to ask questions, and whether you record it, like I'm just recording her audio, or whether you're want to write things down, like, I think it's such an important thing to do, because we're not, pretending like anything's going to be different. Like, this may be it. I want her to experience joy in this moment. And I think, if you have a loved one that's maybe struggling with like their decline, their physical ability decline or something, and it's really hard for them to be like perhaps in a facility, or perhaps like stuck at home, or like in my mom's case, she's bedridden right now. Like, try to find a way. For my mom, it's storytelling, that they can experience just a little bit of joy. It doesn't mean the pain goes away, like physical pain. It doesn't mean that the circumstance gets any better, but the experience within the circumstance can get better, is what I'm discovering. So I am learning that as frustrating as the circumstances are, as frustrating as, she gets sometimes, or even I get, like, let's experience something different inside the circumstance. And I know one thing that I brought something for us to do tactily too, because like some people are like, I don't tell stories, I don't care about listening to stories. Maybe it's, they're more of like, I want to do something with my hands. And for my mom, her vision's kind of wonky. And then also her, dexterity with her fingers it just depends on the day. So I got something that was fairly easy. But that, so while she didn't get to do that today, one of the things that was happening is we really wanted, she really was like, after about an hour and a half, she was tired. So she couldn't talk anymore. She was ready to go to sleep. But instead of just normally when that happens, like before we had this experiencing the joy of the moment, I would just be like, okay. And then like I would pack up my stuff and leave, and she would go to sleep. Well, today I said, well, one, I had time. So like sometimes you don't have time, you have to leave. That's fine. But I had a little bit of extra time. And so I sat there while she went to sleep, and I played some high vibration sounds, that were meant to bring her into a restful state. And while we listened to that, which by the way, it worked on me too, because I feel zenned out big time. I used the craft that I bought for her. There's lots of different pieces, things inside it. So I picked one and I started working on it. And that way, when she wakes up, she sees that I was there. She remembers like, oh yeah, she was there. She can see what I was working on. And then I left her a note. But, I just wanted to share a little bit about like what it looks like to try to engage people in the moment, in the experience, in the circumstance they're in, to bring forth a little bit of comfort even in those uncomfortable circumstances. And it's really made, my attitude coming into Saturdays has been better, because I don't have a time, like I'm not, like sometimes I'm like, okay, I can stay, like I have to leave at this time because I have something else this weekend that I have to do or whatever. But in general, it's like, we're just going to experience some joy together today. That's my agenda. I'm not going to try to fix anything. I'm not going to try to change anything. I'm not going to try to manipulate anything. I'm just going to show up with the intention of connection and joy. And of course, one thing that I did have to learn too is like, you can't make anybody feel any which way. Like they act like you can sometimes, but our own feelings about something kind of are not always up to us in the sense, like sometimes like our emotions just come whether we want to have them or not. But for the most part, I can come with the intention of bringing joy, of bringing comfort, and hopefully she can receive it. But I know that is what I'm coming with. And I think as I come into her space with that kind of intention, with that focus, it allows for the experience to bloom. And whether we're just sitting together and she's sleeping, or whether we're telling stories, or whether we're doing a craft or watching TV or whatever it happens to be, that is the joy that we're choosing for that moment. And so this isn't super practical, although I hope you did hear some practical things that you could do. Like I said, if you have a person like my mom that loves to tell stories, even if they don't make any sense, y'all, it's okay. It's okay. My mom's stories do typically make sense. Sometimes they're like jaw-dropping because you cannot believe them. And I heard one today, I was like, what? But that's going to go on the story podcast, which I'm getting ready to start working on in this next week. But so I'll be sharing her stories that she's sharing with me on that podcast. But, tell stories, write down stories, crafts, Play-Doh. I mean, like, it doesn't have to be any big deal. Look at pictures, look at magazines. My mom loves crossword puzzles. She can still do them, but I know sometimes that doesn't work. Puzzles. I saw some puzzles recently, like at Target or something, that were like super simple, but also not super childish. And they were actually like, they had texture on them. So that would be really good. And then, another thing that I'm able to do for my mom right now, it might not be possible for your loved one, but she thinks she might be able to read, which is something that she used to like to do, but she needs the bigger print. And so I bought her a book with the intention of letting her read it. But if she's not able to read it, then what I think I'll do is I'll try to read to her. She's not a huge fan of listening to reading just because it's kind of hard for her. But we're going to try it and see if it works. And then, of course, there's also, if your person does like to listen to books, then don't forget audiobooks. They're great. All right. So I hope this is helpful to you, and I hope this gives you some encouragement. If you're one of those people that like, you love your loved one, but also like visiting with them can be like really exhausting. I get it. But this is a way that it's made it much more, not just a little bit more. It's made it much more like I look forward to it. Whereas before it was like a little overwhelming, And so if you're experiencing that overwhelm and kind of like sometimes, I'm just going to say it because I know it happens. I hear y'all tell me sometimes you dread it. Then take some action, do something different with the intention of making it a more joyful experience for both of you. And chances are, just by setting that intention and going into it in that way, it can bring a different experience into those circumstances. Okay. So I hope this helped. Like I said, this wasn't part of my plan to do this live today, but I was feeling very inspired by what happened with my mom today. So I wanted to share it with you. I hope it helped. I hope it encourages you. And I would love to hear how you, put this into action if it's something that you choose to do, or if you have any other ideas that you want to share, please do so in the comments. We are always, better when we share our experiences together. And in the 12-step world, we're only as sick as our secrets, but I also think we're only as well as when we can share our experiences with each other and know that we're not alone. So just a reminder, you're not alone. I'm here for you, to encourage you, to support you, and remind you that that you matter and that you're important and you are worthy of the same care that you give others.